Hello again, wrestling fans, and welcome to a very special edition of the Scumbags Wrestling Podcast. This is episode number 149, and it is WrestleMania Day. It is Saturday, it's 10 a.m. Normally, we'd be doing this on Thursdays at 8 p.m., but a few little changes, a lot of other events going on, like NXT, and I'm also going solo today because, unfortunately, our friend Stephen O'Neill had a family member. His grandmother passed away this past week. So we're sending our condolences out to him and his family during this time, and we look forward to his return next week on our shows. So thoughts for you, Stephen, and want to make sure that you're able to spend time with your family, whatever's needed, and catch up on everything wrestling when it is time to do so. We are, as I said, live right now on Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook. So thank you for joining us. If you are able to make comments, I have a comment section available, and I will bring up any of your comments and have some discussion points along the way. So there is some news to go through. Then we're going to get to some results for the past week. I have been watching wrestling nonstop since Monday with Monday Night Raw, the Hall of Fame, uh, NXT takeovers. There's been Eric Bischoff specials, uh, numerous specials on the WWE Network, and constantly listening to podcasts. I think I'm up to about 14 podcasts since last Sunday when the Johners were doing the WrestleMania 25 look back at Undertaker and Shawn Michaels. I'll talk about that later on how you can look at that. But yeah, we are also available on Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio, anywhere you get your podcasts from. We're part of the Ontario Independent Wrestling Network and the Johners Podcasting Network. So we are available everywhere that you can get us. Plus, we are starting tonight the official uh, podcast, the Scumbags Predictions League, where I'll talk a little bit more about it, but you can win this lovely championship belt for being a part of it. All you have to do is send in predictions of tonight's and tomorrow's WrestleMania cards. So, looking at some of the news of the week, Reno Scum are done with Impact Wrestling. They posted a tweet the other day thanking Impact and the fans for their support over the years. The duo have been part of Impact in various roles since 2015. Taylor Wilde is also making her way back to Impact Wrestling. She does a podcast here in Ontario called Wild On and has been away from the wrestling scene for a little while, but recently gotten back into it, starting with the podcast. So she's now going to be getting back into the ring for Impact Wrestling. Speaking of Impact Wrestling, they have a pay-per-view coming up at the end of the month with Rich Swann defending his championship against Kenny Omega, and of course the the Good Brothers are taking on the tag team champions. I'll look closer into that as we get closer to that event. But today, before you can watch WrestleMania, if you have the Impact app, they are doing Hardcore Justice 2021, and you can see 7 matches is on their Impact Wrestling app. And there is an old school rules title versus career for the Impact Knockouts Championship, and that's Deonna Purrazzo taking on Jazz. I see, unfortunately, this being Jazz's final swan song with Impact Wrestling. She had retired and came out of retirement. Has had a good run, but I see Deonna Purrazzo retaining at that one. Alicia Edwards, Havoc, Jordan Grace, Rosemary, Susan, and Tennille Dashwood will all be part of a 6-way weapons match to determine the number 1 contenders match for the Impact Knockouts Championship. A lot of this card is being set up by, or the whole card is supposedly being set up by Tommy Dreamer, and that's why they're doing Hardcore Justice. And a lot of these matches are all going to be Extreme Rules, Hardcore Rules, whatever you want to deem them. There's a Blind Games match with Brian Myers taking on Jake Something. I see Brian Myers actually winning this one. Going back quickly to the Knockouts number one contenders match, I can see in a way they need to do something different, and maybe Havoc is going to take this one. That's who I'm going to go on a limb and say is going to happen. There's a triple threat tag team match with Ace Austin with a tag team partner to be determined, TJP with a tag team partner to be determined, and Josh Alexander with a tag team partner to be determined, all going at it in 6-man action. There's a Chairly legal match. So I'm going to imagine that is a chairs match. And Shera is going to take on Hernandez. I can see Hernandez picking up the victory in that one. Tommy Dreamer has a team with himself, Rich Swann, Eddie Edwards, and Willie Mack, taking on Violent by Design, Eric Young, Joe Doring, Rhino, and Diener in a Hardcore Wars match. I think they need to make the champion look strong going up against Omega. So I can see Team Dreamer getting the victory on that one. And the main event has Doc Gallows uh, with Carl Anderson by his side, taking on Black Taurus, who will also have Crazy Steve and Rosemary. I doubt that's going to be the main event, but they also need to look strong. Doc Gallows does, so I can pick Doc Gallows for the victory on that one. So that's some stuff with Impact Wrestling, and that's available on the fight, or not the fight. I think it might be actually available on Fight, but definitely on their Impact Plus app, and you can get that through any of your app providers. So carrying on, Bea Priestley has left Stardom. She had her final match recently with them on April 4th. After her match, she got on the microphone and thanked everybody and said that was her final match and is departing. She is with Will Ospreay, who just recently won the IWGP Championship. Kind of an ugly title if you look at it. It's almost like a rebirth of the butterfly belt of the Divas. Maybe it's a moth in this case. Um, not so great. But he did win the IWGP Championship the other day. And there's talk that she's heading to WWE and probably NXT. I'm thinking with the current relationship with Will Ospreay and also the global pandemic happening, her coming to North America might not be what's happening. I could see her going to NXT UK and helping out the women's division there. Imagine Bea Priestley against Ginny or any of the other talent that are occupying the women's scene. It should be a good fit, I think, for her. So that would also keep her on that side of the world and closer to Will. She did previously work for AEW, but I think just with the dynamic of living reasons, that probably didn't work out because she would have been a great addition to AEW as well. But that's why I'm thinking NXT UK. The next two WWE events have been scheduled, and that's going to be Money in the Bank taking place on May 16th. And that's just 5 days before my 45th birthday. And then Backlash will take place on June 20th. I'm a little confused on the order of this one because, for myself, I always thought of Money in the Bank as being the replacement for King of the Ring, and putting that in June where King of the Ring used to be was perfect. Where it used to be, I think they messed it up last year as well. But Backlash should be the pay-per-view after WrestleMania. That kind of sets up really easy transitions from WrestleMania. You can do your rematches that way, or night after WrestleMania type events where you're setting up the next things for Backlash, so people rivalries carry on elsewhere. I don't know why they reversed it, but they did. So I'm wondering also if the Money in the Bank will go back to a traditional Money in the Bank setup with the new Thunderdome idea, or if they'll do it cinematically like they did last year. Cinematically, it was a little hit and miss. I like some of the concepts that they did, but I could have done without it being all at the same time as one match with the men and women. And the endings were just not the best, but it was a little bit of a fun match. This past Wednesday on Impact Wrestling, talking about Impact again. Dynamite AEW. Mike Tyson returned, and he ended up coming out and helping Chris Jericho. The Inner Circle had returned for the first time after being attacked by Pinnacle, and turns out in this case, Pinnacle had locked Inner Circle, all but Jericho, into their locker room. They beat down Chris Jericho. Mike Tyson came to the rescue. Inner Circle made the way out of their locker room finally and got rid of Pinnacle. And then you saw Tyson and Jericho hugging, as opposed to the last time that they were in the same ring together. They were ready to beat up each other. So things have changed, especially with Inner Circle turning face. And there's going to be on May 5th, I believe it is, the Blood and Guts match that was supposed to happen last year with Inner Circle and the Elite is now going to be Pinnacle and Inner Circle, and it's going to happen from Daly's place. Speaking of the Elite, or Bullet Club, or whatever they want to be called over in AEW, the final match, the main event of AEW, saw the Young Bucks and Jon Moxley taking on the Good Brothers and Kenny Omega. Matt Jackson had a lot of hesitation. Don Callis was on commentary, sort of hinting at some stuff going on, but didn't obviously reveal what it was. But eventually Moxley had enough of what was going on with the Young Bucks and said he'll just take out Kenny himself. That's when the Young Bucks turned on him and basically turned heel. They beat up Eddie Kingston, and Jon Moxley joined up with Omega and the Good Brothers in a hug at the end instead of the Too Sweet logo. And that's how things ended. So the Young Bucks are now heels in AEW. Going forward, we'll see what happens and see if Moxley can get some recruits of his own to battle Omega and everybody else that's there. Tomorrow night, after night 2 of WrestleMania, Chris Jericho is going to be a guest on the Broken Skull Sessions. Now, this surprised the internet. My feeds kept on blowing up because of it and going, whoa, what's going on here? People are thinking it's the forbidden door being opened with WWE and AEW. And it just turned out that it was also, well, it's amazing that somebody from an active roster of another company, especially AEW, is on a WWE network doing something. But it's Steve Austin and Broken Skull Sessions. That's why Tony Khan said, go for it. Jericho had watched, going to watch WrestleMania 35 live tomorrow. Well, it's live tonight at 8 o'clock here and also tomorrow. So I'll be watching both nights. We'll talk about that more, but thank you for your comments. We'll get to that later on in the show. Anyways, as I was saying, Jericho had finished watching the Undertaker Broken Skull session and called up Steve. They started talking, got this big idea. Steve texted Vince. Vince said, okay, go for it. And Vince Austin was like, are you sure about this? And you got a thumbs up emoji from Vince. So that's what we got. This Sunday, right after WrestleMania Night 2, is going to be the Broken Skull Sessions with Jericho. We'll see how deep they dive into AEW talk, or if it'll just be quickly glossed over. The third season of Dark Side of the Ring will debut on May 6th. It'll feature Brian Pillman in the opening episode. There's also going to be episodes involving the Flight from Hell, the Collision in Korea, Dynamite Kid, the Smith family, being Jake Roberts, Grizzly Smith, Rockin' Robin, Sam Houston, and all that craziness that goes along with that family, especially if you'd watched Beyond the Mat. Yeah, that's going to be a deep dive, I think, on that one. Also, Ultimate Warrior. And in Canada, you can find it on Crave, and that should be up shortly. Frankie Monet will be making her debut on NXT this Tuesday when they make their move to Tuesday nights. Actually, if you look at the ratings for this past Wednesday, the final night of the war, if you want to still look at it as a war, AEW ended up with about 680,000, give or take a couple thousand. on there, and NXT had over 700,000 with their final night, but it was also stand and delivered night number one. Pretty much the same amount of fans either way, so there's juggling back and forth. We'll see if that core group of fans that have been watching every Wednesday night, about 1.3 million, 1.4 million fans, actually go over to AEW and watch that on Wednesdays, and if that same 1.3 million fans are able to go over to Tuesday nights and watch NXT. In the end, I guess everybody wins. There's not going to be conflict of what is watched or not. But as I was saying with Frankie Monet, she's making her debut on Tuesday. This will mark actually the third night in 7 days of NXT TV. So if you're an NXT fan, that's an amazing time to actually have so much NXT content. Frankie Monet is formerly known as Taya Valkyrie and is the wife of John Morrison. Along with NXT news, Road Dogg is at home recovering from his suspected heart attack. He thanked everybody for the love and support that he received during this time and is at home recovering. And Triple H even mentioned in the press conference post Stand and Deliver that Road Dogg was actually on headset and in communication with everybody at NXT at the PC during Stand and Deliver, probably giving his feedback and input on what was going on there. Oddly enough, this weekend, Bayley is missing from action, and she is said to not be injured, but she just has not been used in the ring since February, and just done her ding dong talk show, but even that hasn't been used for a little bit. There had been rumor that maybe they were going to do stuff with Becky Lynch, and that didn't come forward. I'm just hoping that, in a way, she comes out either tonight or tomorrow and says, "Hey, I'm the longest SmackDown champion in history. I am the first Grand Slam champion in WWE history for the women. Why am I not on this card?" And issue an open challenge. And that open challenge could be answered by Charlotte Flair, who's surprisingly not on the card. It could be answered by Becky Lynch, who Nick Khan mentioned that she's on her way back any day now. It could be. And she posted a tweet on Twitter that if you look at it, how it's lined up, and you see the first letter of every word, it says night one. So maybe she was giving a hint in that regards that she's going to show up tomorrow, or sorry, tonight. Tonight is night number one. But yeah, so we'll have to see if that happens. And I also thought a couple of weeks ago when we saw footage of a training school involving Kalisto, Sasha, Bayley, and Tessa Blanchard, that maybe this would be an opportunity for Tessa Blanchard to show up at WrestleMania, surprise everybody. She is in North America, obviously now, and not in Mexico with Daga. I think they're both probably in Texas and that area now, because he's also rumored to be possibly looked at by AEW. But any of those three going against Bayley would be a great surprise for WrestleMania, even if it means Bayley loses in a quick fashion, especially to either Becky Lynch or a Tessa Blanchard. But I think it would be a good WrestleMania moment that is not suspected. Just throwing it out there, I don't know why Bayley is not being used. It's a very sad situation, because I think she's tremendously underrated of the four horsewomen, even though she got to the Grand Slam before all of them. Nick Khan also had mentioned that Ronda Rousey has come back eventually. She had been off for almost now, I guess, 2 years, and tonight her contract, if you look at it, officially ends. But if she hasn't participated in 2 years, they can hold that over. They've done it for other talent, and they could just hit the pause button. So maybe she'll be back eventually as well. It doesn't seem like her time trying to start a family has been as successful as she had hoped. And I know that from personal experience also, of wishing things would be a lot better that way. But things happen. There's things like that for a reason. But if she's able to then just come back and do what she does best, why not? So that's a lot of the stuff that was going on with news that I have. Just want to look at some of the things coming up on the indie podcasting networks that I'm involved with before I look at what's happened this past week. So, looking at the Ontario Indie Podcasting Network and the Genres Network, George Mackay has Amber Nova on his latest edition of the video podcast. George was also with John Scott this past Sunday as the Johners looked back at WrestleMania 25, Undertaker and Shawn Michaels. There's a watch along. I was able to make some comments. I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to be part of the show, so I didn't sign up to do so. But time allowed me to, so I followed along with that. Definitely a good listen or watch with Johners Podcasting and George Mackay, John Scott. So check that out. Steven Spice of Steven's Wrestling Journey has about an hour interview with TJ Wilson. I really like TJ Wilson myself. Every year, without fail, he is on top of his Facebook accounts, knowing who has birthdays and sends a birthday greeting, and I usually get to chat with him for a couple minutes at that time. So I want to definitely listen to this interview with Steven Spice and TJ Wilson, and that way I can have food to talk with TJ about when it does come time for him to send his yearly greetings to me. Great guy. He gets a lot of praise from women. If you listen to After the Bell with Rhea Ripley that just dropped the other day, she gets a lot of advice from TJ and sung his praises during that episode with Corey Graves. So good guy. It's unfortunate that he had this injury with Samoa Joe. Maybe he'll eventually be able to return. Who knows? The guy is jacked and has a supplement line and also a training school. So can't go wrong. Just wish everything the best for TJ. Speaking of Steven Spice, please remember that our t-shirts are still available to support Steven's Wrestling Journey and carry malformation at Children's Hospital. That shirt is the indie comic book cover, and that one is exclusively for that reason. My other shirts that we have, the other three, including the Raw's War, the original Scumbags logo, and the I'm just trying to think, the podcast logo, just throwing out there. Got a lot going on. It's WrestleMania. I'll just put that up there. All these shirts that are here are available on Pro Wrestling Tees. So go to prowrestlingtees.com /scumbags wrestling, and you'll be able to purchase any of these shirts. Now, for the month of April, the three shirts that are there, the of the logos, those are going to go for proceeds to Jordito's recovery fund. So if you saw our podcast last week, you heard a little bit about Jordito overcoming cancer and needing a lot of recovery, especially with all the issues that happen with his legs and recovery. That way, he needs some ability with swimming and walking equipment. Sorry, hearing stuff upstairs. So go to Pro Wrestling Tees. You buy the Ontario Indie shirt. That money goes to Steven's Wrestling Journey, but the other three for this month will go to Giorgito's recovery. So check that out. And also later on, in about an hour and a half-ish, you can join us on YouTube and on Facebook for Fantasy Warfare Tournament, a special edition. It's dropped with Kieran Reed and Matthew Terry, both of different podcasts here on the Genres Podcasting Network. And we are going to look at the greatest main event for WrestleMania and 16 matches that main evented 16 different WrestleManias. We break it down in tournament format, just like our regular Fantasy Warfare. So that's at noon today. And then at 3 p.m., Genres Podcasting is doing a prediction show for WrestleMania. And so you can check out all that. And I'm going to be back in just a moment. I need a drink of water. because I'm just going nonstop. We are 26 minutes in, and we have to still get to everything that's happened with WWE this past week. So, catch you in a moment. If you want a variety of wrestling news and history, look no further than the Scumbags of Wrestling family of shows. On Wednesday nights at 6 p.m., join Shawn, Steven, and Jonesy as we look for the best of the best and break it all down in a unique tournament format on Fantasy Warfare Tournament. Then, Thursdays at noon, take a look back at the rich history of our great sport with This Week in History. Relive title changes, births, deaths, and some of the best events of all time. Finally, join us for the latest in wrestling news, show results, and predictions Thursday nights at 8 p.m. for the Scumbags Wrestling Podcast. The Scumbags of Wrestling can be found on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Instagram, along with our audio versions on Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or anywhere else you get your podcasts from. We're a proud part of the Ontario Indie Wrestling Podcast Network and the Johners Podcast Network. Okay, so welcome back. I just got that moment into me. So as I said, I've been watching a ton of wrestling this past week and listening to a lot of podcasts. And this week started off with Monday and WrestleMania go-home show for Raw. Can't really say it was that great of a show. A lot of filler going on. And, of course, unfortunately, a 20-minute main event with Baron Corbin and Drew McIntyre. But then Tuesday, we saw the WWE Hall of Fame. They did it in two parts this year because last year we weren't able to do the 2020. And they did it in the Thunderdome. And they had pre-recorded some people on the screens, and everybody stood on the stage, and you saw the backdrop with the Hall of Fame logo. And for me, it kind of seemed a little odd, just in the visual appearance. I like the speeches. I wish some of them would have been able to be longer, but they tried to do it all in an hour and a half. I'm kind of hoping they find a way of telling everybody's Hall of Fame story in a way on the WWE network. I'm not sure if that will happen or not, but I miss those big stories that you normally hear about their time and career and jumping all over the place. Some people did get them, others didn't get the time. But, considering what we're going through, we got what we could. The canned reactions and laughing kind of are cringeworthy, but I did make it through all 3 hours. You saw John Bradshaw Layfield opening up the show, and he at least got to do a couple of stories involving him and Ron Simmons, him and Eddie Guerrero, and the heart attack with Eddie's mom accidentally. And it was pretty decent. British Bulldog got inducted, and Harry Smith did the talking while his mom, Diana, stood on one side and Georgia on the other. I wish they'd been able to say something as well, and he had a Bulldog out with him as well. But, yeah, it was good storytelling from Harry Smith. I'm wondering how long it's going to be until he is with WWE on a full-time basis and where he will go. Myself, I would like to send him maybe to UK to start off with. He's finishing up with MLW, but somebody needs to be able to challenge Walter, who has held the championship for well over 700 days. So that's my hope and dream as far as Harry Smith goes, and maybe he'll be able to do that. Jushin Thunder Liger was inducted. He's a 11-time IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champion and one-time WCW Light Heavyweight Champion. He did a video from Japan. He looks totally different without his hair, but he still had his mask on and did his speech very quickly because it was a video one, and they had the subtitles at the bottom. So Liger got inducted. The Bella Twins were there. They got inducted. Their speech probably could have been a little bit longer. They wanted to do it longer, and I think they tweeted out about being disappointed at how short it was. Um, Surprisingly enough, Nikki Bella did uh, give a shout out to John Cena for what he did for her career, and they also talked about Dana Bryan and showed a video of how they got into the business with the Diva Search and seeing how they grew up and aged during the time and doing the twin magic. Yeah, pretty good. Um, a lot of people are down on them for their careers and being models and stuff like that. But all things considered, they were probably one of the better models that came out of that whole Diva Search sort of era. Also, we had William Shatner going in. He sent a video message as well. And Titus O'Neil got the Warrior Award. A lot of people think Shad Gaspard should. And I'm not going to debate the whole Shad Gaspard thing. But Warrior Award is also for a lot of things you do out and about community, not just, it's not a wrestling career, but that's why different people have had the Warrior Award over the years. And of course, main eventing the first part of the Hall of Fame induction ceremony was the NWO, and you had Hogan, Hall, Nash, and X-Pac or Six from the NWO. Of course, there's people that are saying, oh, why weren't everybody inducted? That would have been a long parade of people who worked for NWO, a lot of people who undeservedly worked in NWO colors. There's unfortunately a lot of people who passed away that wore NWO colors. But I think going with these four, they were the main nucleus and core of building the whole NWO. A lot of people along the way were more enhancements, should I say. And of course, you're not going to have Big Show out there because he's with AEW and he was part of the NWO. You miss out on Savage. You miss out on Sting because he's in AEW. Luger, still, I'm not sure if he's in defenses along the way. You know, you got Conans who don't really like WWE, Big Boss Mans who passed away. Horace Hogan, you're not going to bring him in. I'm sorry, just too many people. And of course, Scott Steiner and Buff Bagwell. No. So doing these four, I think were best. They could have been brought in DiBiase. I would have accepted that too. But that was the NWO induction. Hogan had the championship over his shoulder, started making comments that he's going to challenge the winners to go after the NWO title because he never lost it. I don't know. But Hogan is going to be the host for WrestleMania along with Titus O'Neil tonight. Then there were recipients of the Legacy Award, and it was Ray Stevens, Brickhouse Brown, Dr. Death Steve Williams, Baron Michael Leone, and Gary Hart. I see the Legacy Award being given more to people who um, never really worked in WWE or had a big career, because Dr. Death was there, but his legacy is elsewhere. And they could have done that, I guess, event with Abdullah the Butcher if they had thought that sooner. But it is what it is. Then the second half saw the 2021 version, and we had people like Molly Holly there. She didn't really get into many stories, but she did talk about how she hung out with a lot of the enhancement backstage crew who helped set up rings and everything else to make show go. And she went through about a list of 15 different names of people she wanted to recognize, and that's really cool of her. The Great Khali, he sent a video message. It was in Indian and English, so it had the subtitles. Rob Van Dam started off the whole thing on the second part. He got to talk a little bit about his career and that, but didn't really bring up Paul Heyman or ECW too much. So we'll see if he is going to do anything with WWE. He's been doing stuff video wise, and right circumstances, even though he's 50, he could show up. Ozzy Osbourne was the celebrity inductee, and he'd done stuff at WrestleMania 2, a SmackDown performance, and also co-hosted Raw in 2009. He thanked WWE and being a fan that way. The Warrior Award was Rich Herring. He may not be really recognized, but he's been with the company for over 50 years. He did a lot of legal stuff. He was a judge. He presided over Randy and Elizabeth's wedding at Madison Square Gardens during SummerSlam '91, and you see him at different points throughout. And they showed a video of his legacy of how he is part of it. Eric Bischoff got his induction. He could have gone a lot longer with his speech, and so I'm hoping they do something that way. And Glenn Jacobs Kane was the headliner. He had his mask on the side. He talked about Undertaker and his mom being proud of being a mom of a dentist when he was Isaac Yankem. Then also had a sign that she raised Kane. So he had some good little bits here and there. He did get a little bit more time than others. So it was really nice to see that. He ended up by doing the hands down and getting flames going off, and that ended the show. The Legacy Award went to Dick Bruiser, Pistol Pez, Watley, Buzz Sawyer, Ethel Johnson, which apparently they showed the wrong footage of somebody else, not the right woman. So hopefully WWE corrects that one, because she was the first women's NWA tag team champion, or one time, and African American champion for that matter. And Paul Bosch, promoter of Houston Wrestling, was also the last inductee for the Legacy Award. So, got another mission. Bellas are given way too much credit for women's health. Yes, I would agree with that, John. I would put people obviously like Trish, Lita, and Ivory, Jazz, and Jackie as more people who were part of the evolution than what is there. Maybe the Bellas did speak up a bit more, and they had their platforms, but it was the women down in NXT also who were helping to build up that rite of passage to get them brought up and give acknowledgement to what the Bellas were talking about, because before that there was still just models. So yeah, good point there, John. Looking forward to the predictions coming up in a few hours, and we'll enjoy WrestleMania. So that was Hall of Fame. Then we had 2 nights of NXT on Wednesday and Thursday. Just quickly running down the results because I want to get to tonight's stuff and the predictions league. But Zoe Stark beat Toni Storm in the pre-show. That happened at 7 o'clock. Pete Dunne beat Kushida. I was kind of surprised by that one, but I would have liked to see Kushida win. Pete Dunne, still a really great guy. I'm good either way. He could have set himself up as a number 1 contender for the championship. Bronson Reed defeated Isaiah Swerve Scott, Cameron Grimes, LA Knight, Dexter Lumis, and Leon Ruff in the Gauntlet Eliminator. So it was almost like Elimination Chamber without the chamber, the way that they did it. And he received a championship match against Johnny Gargano for night 2. In a really hard-hitting match that Tommaso Ciampa had to then resort into British-style wrestling, just trying to compete with Walter, but still wasn't enough. Walter retained the NXT UK Championship, and that's where I'm saying somebody like Harry Smith, British Bulldog Jr., whatever he wants to go by, could be a good competition for Walter, because somebody needs to take him down. I like Walter a lot. I'm not knocking him down at all on that one. I like long championship reigns. I have a picture with Walter from a Smash event in summer 2019. Great guy. But just ring-wise, it'd be nice to see somebody be able to take the title. MSK won the vacant tag team championships, defeating the Grizzled Young Veterans and Legado del Fantasma. in the three-way. And the main event saw Raquel Gonzalez finally overcoming Io Shirai. Um, a lot of women have tried, and surprisingly came up short because I thought Io should have been going up to the main roster numerous times, and I was betting against her on predictions and losing a lot on that one. But Raquel Gonzalez ended up winning the NXT Women's Championship, and I was hearing on a podcast somebody talking about her, and I was thinking she's almost like a female Diesel. Came in as a bodyguard, got tag team championships, and now is the main champion. The only thing that hasn't happened is her and Dakota Kai going against each other. We'll have to wait and see what happens there. Maybe there's going to be some jealousy, but she's almost a female Diesel in my view of her. Then night two, Killian Dane and Drake Maverick won the number one contenders match for the tag team titles over Breezango, and that match with MSK should happen shortly. Santos Escobar, the interim NXT Cruiserweight Champion, defeated Jordan Devlin, the current, or at that time, the NXT Cruiserweight Championship, in a ladder match. They did some Spanish flies off it. Headbutt off the ladder sent Devlin crashing through another one, and you had Escobar able to capture the double title, and now he is truly the NXT Cruiserweight Champion. Just checking over there. Johnny Gargano, Ember Moon and Shotzi Blackheart defeated The Way to retain the women's tag team titles. Johnny Gargano beat Bronson Reed to retain his North American Championship. It's actually a really good match with the big guy going down. He can say that he worked 2 nights in a row, and that's why he wasn't able to beat Gargano, but it was a good match there. Karrion Kross ended up reclaiming the NXT Championship from Finn Balor, and we'll see where things go from here. And in a really hard, unsanctioned, hard-hitting match involving chains, tables, going through rampways, you name it, it was happening. Kyle O'Reilly came up on top of Adam Cole. Adam Cole had to be stretchered out after getting a wrapped chain around the knee to the side of the head, and that was a 40-minute bout there. So we'll see where Kyle O'Reilly finds himself in the championship picture. A couple more comments from John. Both nights of TakeOver were fantastic. I totally agree. Memorable matches, moments for sure. I think night one may have been a little bit stronger than night two, only because I think they held off a bit on night two undercard matches just to build up for those two main event matches with Balor and O'Reilly matches. And the latter match was the most disappointing match of the 2 nights. Yeah. I believe actually it was your podcast I was listening to on that one, now that you mention it, and how you guys were really not fans of Jordan Devlin. And yeah, understandable. He's not everybody's cup of tea. And yeah, Escobar retains. Could have gone just a singles match, but with the double titles, I understand why they had Shawn Michaels throw in a ladder and almost try and build up the nostalgia of what Shawn and Razor did at WrestleMania 10. So that's been what's going on last couple days. Yesterday, also, there was SmackDown, and it was sort of the scraps of WrestleMania that could not make it to tonight and tomorrow. And you had the tag team titles were on the line, and the Dirty Dogs ended up retaining in the 4-way over Street Profits, Gable, and Otis, and the Mysterios. They snuck out a victory in Dirty Dog fashion. So Rude and Ziggler are still your champions. And then the Andre Battle Royal happened also on this one, and everybody ganged up on former Hurt Business members. Alexander and Benjamin got rid of them. Ali got rid of Mace. You had him also get rid of T-Bar. So they've definitely broken up Retribution in that way. But surprisingly, they're still doing the whole gimmick with the mask. It came down to Baron Corbin, Jey Uso, and Shinsuke Nakamura. Nakamura got rid of Baron Corbin, but Jey Uso stood tall at the end. All three main eventers for tomorrow night's match, Edge, Daniel Bryan, and Roman Reigns, ended up doing their own pushes and having great promos. I think Daniel Bryan's was one of the strongest ones. I'll get to that in just a moment with my predictions. But yeah, so that was SmackDown. Now, we're talking predictions, and I want to switch banners and everything and bring up the Predictions League. So we'll do that. And we have the Predictions League. You can join that today by going to our website, scumbags.ca, or I'm hearing there's a little bit of issues with trying to get in there, and I'm going to work on that. But if you contact me on our Facebook page also and send me a DM, either way, whichever way you want to send your picks in, if it works, send them in. You have a chance at winning a t-shirt night 1 or night 2 if you have the most points for that. Plus, you can also get involved with the pro side of things, where the championship belt is on the line. As you see, the point system with 10 points for a win, 5 for a no contest, and 0 points for a loss. The no contest aspect also is involved with tomorrow night's main event, with the fact that if you have picked, I'm going to say Daniel Bryan as your option, and Roman Reigns retains by beating Edge, because you picked Daniel Bryan, you're going to get 5 points because he wasn't part of the win, he wasn't part of the loss in that. So that's where that whole 5-point win, no contest sort of situation goes in. So we'll run down the card, and I'll give you my predictions for this. We have Brie Rexha going to be doing the America the Beautiful to start off tonight, and then we'll kick off into what I'm going to say is the opening match, Drew McIntyre and Bobby Lashley. I don't know if the breakup of the Hurt Business was good. I agree with it. Hopefully they're upgrading, or it's just a swerve. But I don't know. You want to start off huge with this, but Drew McIntyre should win that. But Bobby Lashley has a lot of momentum. I am going to go with Drew McIntyre on this just to rev up the crowd, because regardless of who comes out on top, the moment they come out of the pirate ship and down the ramp, it's going to be a huge moment, because this is the first time in over a year that we got some fans. But I'm going to go with Drew McIntyre. Going to go with the cage match, Braun Strowman against Shane McMahon. I'm going to go, I want to say Braun Strowman wins to prove Shane wrong, but I also see Dabba-Kato coming, and I can almost see a scenario with the St. Valentine's Day Massacre with Big Show's entrance when he came in '99, that Braun Strowman ends up going through the cage, or he puts Shane through the cage and wins that way. Shane could win by being put through the cage, and oops, you are stupid will be Shane's thing. But I'm going to go with Braun Strowman to do this, and I can also see Dabba-Kato making a debut. Speaking of tall guys that are making your debut, and you're going to have Omos with AJ Styles, and I'm going to go with them taking the tag team titles from the New Day, because it's Omos's debut. He's tall. They're going to highlight him, and they really don't seem to care about the tag team titles over on Raw. And AJ Styles then becomes a Grand Slam champion, so why not? AJ probably deserves a better matchup than this, but this is what he's getting. The women's tag team number 1 contendership is on the line. What's missing from this picture is also Carmella and Billy Kay. They had put up a picture of it before, and I couldn't find it. But I want to see the Riot Squad come out on top. But with what they did last night with Tamina and Natty, it can go so many different ways. I want to go with Riot Squad. I wouldn't complain if Mandy Rose there either, but Riot Squad, the actual tag team in this whole setup and scenario, should go there. Another tag team match has Bad Bunny and Damian Priest against Miz and Morrison, former tag team champions, former world champions in the case of The Miz. And I am going to go with Bad Bunny and Damian Priest taking that one, because why have a celebrity there who's actually been at the Performance Center learning his craft? So go with that. I want to see Cesaro take this match with Seth Rollins. It's about time that he gets a singles match. But I think Seth is going to end up taking it. So that is also night number one. And what has been confirmed as the main event of night number one, Sasha Banks versus the Royal Rumble winner of the women's, Bianca Belair. They've turned Sasha heel to do her legit boss gimmick. I totally agree with doing that. I've never really liked Sasha as a face. It just doesn't fit her personality. And having Bianca Belair come out on top to end night number one, winning the title, keeps Sasha with her losing streak at WrestleMania. It gives a good feel-good moment leaving WrestleMania night number one, at least, and shows how somebody can climb a ladder and meet her dreams. So I'm going to go with Bianca Belair as your new SmackDown Women's Champion. Of course, Hogan and Titus O'Neil are hosting both nights, and night number two will see the women tag team titles on the line. And I'm going to say new champs, regardless of who comes out of it on top of the gauntlet for tonight. And this could be finally where Shayna and Nia go against each other. Like, they really haven't done a lot of work on the women's side of things. So I'm saying new champs on that. Then we have Rhea Ripley challenging Asuka for the title. I see a new champion here as well. They made her, Rhea Ripley, pronouns, a heel on Raw when she turned on Asuka. But Asuka's run has not been that great as champion since she was awarded it from Money in the Bank. And also, she has the broken tooth and has to go away to get that fixed and all that. It's a good time to give Rhea Ripley the rub. She had an amazing match last year with Charlotte. She was the second last woman in the match at Royal Rumble, so why not? Sheamus against Riddle. Riddle was not supposed to be the United States champion, and Sheamus, as much as he's been losing, has had great matchups lately. I can see this being a way of rewarding Sheamus and giving him the U.S. title. So I'm going to go with Sheamus as your new champion. There is a Nigerian drum match with Big E taking on Apollo Crews. Both of them have come out with amazing promos. Character change for Crews. They could have explained it a little bit better, in my opinion, but I like the aggressiveness finally of Crews. Ua Nation, formerly. The accent, well, whatever it is, what it is. But I like this new hard-hitting Big E at the same time, and his promos have just been awesome, and not this kid crap that I did not enjoy with the New Day. That being said, unfortunately, this is Apollo's fifth chance at it. He needs the win to do it. Could be a short one, for all I know. But I'm going to go with Crews, even though I want Big E to keep this momentum going with the character that he has. So new champ on that front as well. a lot of titles I think are changing just as a nice reset, going into, as people say, it's the year end, year beginning, what WrestleMania represents for WWE. So why not? We're going to have Randy Orton against The Fiend. Alexa Bliss is going to be there. I want to see almost a double doink situation with The Fiend and like they did at WrestleMania 9. Imagine Crispy Fiend with Bray Wyatt doing the whole mirror thing and whatever, and taking out Randy Orton, because I think the Fiend definitely needs a win. Bray Wyatt needs a win. Whether we get some smoke and mirrors and a mixture of a real match and a Firefly Funhouse, we'll have to wait and see. That's going to be a crazy match for sure. But I want Bray Wyatt to overcome and finally win. Just too many times losing to Randy Orton, and people know I'm not the best Randy Orton fan, and I don't know who's supposed to be face or heel in this one. A dream match for both these guys being on the stage of WrestleMania. Having the celebrity Logan Paul there, not happy with that idea, but I'm going to go with Kevin Owens beating Sami Zayn, unless for some reason Logan Paul gets involved and Sami gets the victory. But either way, I hope these two get the dream match that they've always wanted since they started wrestling together on the Indies and ROH and finally in WWE. Yes, it's been done numerous times, but this is WrestleMania, and I hope for the best for these guys, truly. Now, the main event, as I said, yeah, I don't know which way to go on this one. There's so many different ways. Roman Reigns retaining would be the best thing, I think, and that's going to be my pick, is Roman Reigns retaining. Normally, you would send fans home happy, and that would be the reason why I would give it to Daniel Bryan, is sending fans home happy that night and having that feel-good WrestleMania 30 yes, yes, yes moment. Daniel Bryan has worked hard to get there. Could be his last WrestleMania, saying he's going to be part-timer. He's been working behind the scenes, so we don't know what his career has in store. Making this a three-way, I didn't mind as much as a lot of people I've heard online complain about, but that being said, I think we need to have Roman Reigns the head of the table, be strong, and I don't see him losing it for a long while. That's the only way that you make this heel character work for Roman Reigns. So that's my pick. Patriotism and nostalgia wants me to pick Edge. He's better as the heel and stuff like that he's doing now. So I can't complain of any of these three walking away with the title. I just think storyline wise, you need Roman. Can Roman not be part of the outcome and still look good? Yes, but I don't want him chasing the title. That's not what the head of the table should be doing. So unless they pull something different on us, that is WrestleMania 37 happening tonight on the WWE Network or Peacock if you're in the United States. But that is pre-show. I believe it's 7 o'clock. I've heard that they're not going to show anything part of Raymond James Stadium until 8 o'clock when they go live on pay-per-view or main event status. And I want you to remember to join us for the Scumbags Prediction League. You can win a t-shirt tonight for having the most points, but you can also be on your way to winning this title in a year when we total everything up of the points. And you can earn this $25 for the pro side of things, or you can just join us all year long on the fun side and be eligible to win different t-shirts. And of course, our predictions league is brought to us by CoolBet. Play cool, bet safely, or bet responsibly. That's the key. But yes, CoolBet is a sponsor, so check them out. We're going to have a special code eventually from them. It's year-end situation, so we need to get that code where you can place bets on CoolBet and earn some extra cash along the way or credit. But WrestleMania tonight. We'll be back next week on our regular time Thursday. Review what happened at WrestleMania and everything with the fallout. The following night, they're going to be in New Thunderdome because they had to leave Tampa Bay, the Tropicana Field, for the Rays to do their stuff there. Baseball season starting. So, joining me in an hour for Fantasy Warfare Tournament with Matthew Terry and Kieran Reed as we look at the greatest WrestleMania main event, at least in our opinion, of the 16 that are in this bracket. You can also at 3 o'clock in North America, 8 o'clock over in UK, join Johners for their prediction show. And they'll run down the card and give their ideas of what they hope to see tonight. There's tons of wrestling stuff going on. Also, coming up soon is going to be also season 3 of Go Backyard Pro. Check them out. They're still looking for funds. They're with their GoFundMe, and season 3 will come up eventually in time. So keep an eye out for them. Got so many things going on. Enjoy this weekend. It is WrestleMania weekend, 2 nights. And yeah, what more can we say? It is going to be a great weekend. I hope everybody enjoys it. I'm out of here rambling, and all the things down below of how you can get to us. Take care.